So why is the church opposed to contraception, IVF, pornography, gay marriage, and what are the moral alternatives? So none of them. So none of this really meet the two ends of marriage. That is union and protection and procreation. So in contraception, this is wrong because it is actively separating the union of the couples from the procreative end. The Catholic theology of marriage does not expect couples to have sex only to conceive or to have no say in when and how they conceive. For virtual fertilizations, or this is also artificial insemination, these are considered morally wrong because they separate procreation from the union of the marital act. And for the others, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So what does it mean to live a chastely and pure life? They're singing in the back, just ignore it, I'm sorry. I'm in open space. Okay. So living chaste means to control your sexual desires and order them towards love, according to your state of love, such as abstaining from sex if unmarried or turning one's spouse's gift in the marriage. And living pure means kind of desiring to do right out of respect for our sexuality by recognizing our temptations, avoiding materials and situations that encourage us to objectify others. Modesty when it comes to dress, words, and attitudes, etc. So again, in other words, chastity kind of helps control purity in a way, or if we are chaste, we control what we think in our heads and decide not to have sex. Whereas if we are pure, you're conscious and then your outlook and thoughts, and we portray our chastity by dressing modesty. This two may confuse you a little bit, being pure, being chaste. Just try to think of them in your own terms, kind of. So let's say you're saying, like, how do you act pure? How do you act chaste? So pure comes really to like the desire of doing so, and being chaste more comes to like controlling your sexual desires. Even if it's a little confusing, look those up because then they may appear more than likely. So what does it matter for a minister of matrimony? So the matter is the couple who marries, the form is a consent given in the wedding vows, and the minister is the couple themselves. But you're gonna have the ordained minister simply witnessing the vows, so they won't really do much, but just stay there and witness what's happening. Okay. So next question: explain the three orders and sacraments of holy orders. So these are in Latin, I believe, but I don't think you need to know them in Latin. But again, it's the order of the bishops, the order of the priests, and order of deacons. Not sure how to say them in Latin, but I believe Ordo Episcoporum, Ordo Presbyterorum, and Ordo Diaconorum. And these are given in the packet for us. But yeah, that's what they do. Deacons help the priest and bishop during mass. Priest preaches the gospel, shepherds the faithful, and celebrates the sacraments. What is the difference between a transitional and a permanent deacon? So a permanent deacon is ordained with the intention of serving this capacity for the rest of his life, whereas a transitional deacon is ordained for a period of time before progressing on to a priesthood. So remember, transitional, it's kind of just like a transition before becoming an actual priest. Whereas, oh my god. Whereas, that's really interesting. Okay, whereas a permanent deacon is just like a deacon forever. Like, he's not going through any transitional progress or anything. Why is prostration important during the rite of holy orders? Prostration is done during the rite of holy orders to show they are ready for a life service. What sacraments heal us spiritually or physically? So spiritually we have reconciliation and baptism, and physically Eucharist and sacraments of healing, really. Sin is a result of failure of love. Explain. So God created us to love each other. So when we fail to love, we sin and we fail to love Him altogether. This is what happened to Adam and Eve. What's concupiscence? So this is the inclination to sin. What is venial and mortal sin? And what are the conditions for mortal sin? So venial is a sin that weakens us but doesn't kill our relationship with Christ. Whereas a mortal sin is a total rejection and alienation from God. The conditions of mortal sin are that it has to be, the subject matter must be grave. The subject matter must be committed with full knowledge and committed with full consent. If one of these isn't met, then it is not considered mortal sin. Explain how the sacrament of confession helps a person become a better Christian. People are admitting not to be imperfect and professing Christ's power to forgive as they strive to become a better person. If God is the one who forgives, then why is the sacrament of reconciliation necessary? So God told His apostles to go out, preach the world, and gave them this power through Jesus. I'm so sorry about the noise. Christ gave us the sacraments for a reason. The attitude that the sacraments aren't necessary diminishes the true nature of the sacraments and means that Christ chose to continue His saving actions in the world. So it is kind of important to us to recognize the point of these sacraments. Otherwise, it's just pretty much pointless. and they're immortal for mortal sins and for any kind of sin. What is the matter for a minister? It's the matter of anointing of the sick. So the matter is the oil of the sick. The form are the words, and the minister is the bishop and the priest. So what evidence do we have from the Bible that supports the sacrament of the anointed of the sick? So Christ used the method of physical touch to heal the sick then. Some examples that appear in the Bible that prove to us this. It's the raising of Lazarus from the dead, when he healed people with leprosy, when he made a blind man have perfect vision, and he allowed a paralyzed man to have the ability to walk. So all these examples kind of hint at the fact that Christ used the physical touch for that purpose. So when may a person receive the sacrament of anointing of the sick? So this may happen before surgery, someone in a coma, a grave moment of health, or danger of death due to illness or age. So any kind of these instances where you see that the person is about to die, or anything of that sort. So what other sacraments should morally be celebrated before the sacrament of anointing, and why? So reconciliation, so that the soul is ready for heaven, and the Eucharist, so you could have Christ in you. What graces are received in the sacrament of the anointing? So we have the sacrament provides a grace to unite us with the passion of Christ and strengthen us against despair and temptation. What does the word baptize mean? This word means to plunge or immerse or to submerge. What does the RCIA stand for? So this stands for the Rite of Christian Initiation for Adults, which usually takes place during Easter Vigil. What did Peter declare on Pentecost? So he declared that everyone should be baptized. What is baptism of blood? This is the belief that martyrs receive forgiveness for their sins. What is baptism of desire? So for baptism of desire is kind of those who never hear the gospel, yet act by it and truly desire it, and they'll pretty much we say that they will go to heaven and be baptized. If a child dies without baptism, does God save them? Yes. What is the first thing that happens during baptism? So the candidate immersed is blessed in water 3 times. What does the white robe and lit candle of baptism represent? So the white robe symbolizes new dignity, whereas the candle represents the bringing light of Christ. So what is a chrism? This is a mixture of olive oil and balsam. Are all other sacraments bound around the Eucharist? True. It's a sacrifice of Christ. It's a sacrifice of Christ and the sacrifice of the Eucharist separate. No, they're both the same. What is an examination of conscience? Conscience is an honest assessment of how we have treated our lives. What is the most important act of the penitent? The act of contrition. Which one is perfect contrition? Sorrow for sin because we want to have a relationship with God. What is the sacrament seal? So this is the secrecy of the priests that are bound to keep to confession. So this is just kind of what keeps the priests from not sharing anything that's told to them. What does reconciliation mean? To restore, to union, to rejoin, or put together again.